They went to court or a tribunal. They lost in the tribunal. They came to me and said, I used your contract. It was wrong. This is your fault. You owe us. I looked at it and thought, well, no, we told you about updating it. You
Mhm.
didn't. But then I thought, how could we do this better? And that's where HR Manager was born.
Hello and welcome to the Armchair Show. Today I'm with one of my favourite people in the industry. I'm here today with my long friend Joel. I think most people watching are already going to know who you are and what you do. You're so well known in the industry. But for the one person that might not know, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm Joel Combes. I'm Managing Director of Lawgistics, a law firm for the motor trade. I won't say probably the biggest law firm, but we are now the biggest law consultancy for the motor trade. We provide a legal helpline, casework service. We've got over 2,000 dealers on our books, from large franchises to smaller independents. And then we also run from last year a new company, Logistics Litigation for the Motor Trade, which is a community interest company, which means we can go right up to the court and into the court doors and deal with cases for our clients under that name as well.
Nice. And you also have a very new, very exciting product that is coming early next year. So tell us about the new thing that's coming.
Okay, so our clients know about it because they've been beta testing it for several years now, but we've spent an immense amount of money on this product, and it's to deal with HR issues, the issuing of contracts, handbooks, to help dealers comply. So the product's called hrmanager.co.uk. It's a SaaS product. We're releasing it to all industries because it comes as an app and some software. But our dealers, I think we've got over 1,000 users now on the
Wow.
product beta testing.
And it's not
for us.
even fully launched yet.
No, absolutely not.
Amazing.
But we've needed them to use it to understand how to develop it, and it does deal with a lot more. Yeah, I came to this with I think it was a £25,000 budget, and we've now spent over £500,000 on it. So it's good.
Which anybody that has ever built a tech product will know how that goes. Whatever you budget, double it. And that's if you're really good. If it's your first time, double it again.
Yeah, I think that's it. We were just trying to resolve one issue, which was contracts and making sure your employment contracts are up to date. And in doing that, we realised that we had to get into time management, appraisals, disciplinaries, grievances, meeting notes, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. It's a huge piece of software now.
And why is keeping your employment contracts, for anyone that is maybe sitting there thinking, I have a bunch of employment contracts, I haven't looked at them or touched them or done anything in a long period of time, why is that a problem if they're not up to date?
Well, the law does change. It doesn't change often. And I think during the pandemic was notable when people were about to make redundancies, but then we had the furlough. A lot of people didn't have contracts that were fit for purpose. I think there's a nature of you employ someone and you think, oh, I need an employment contract. So you go back to your server and you pick up the contract of someone you employed 2 years ago. You take their contract, copy and paste the name of the new person in there and issue the contract.
I've definitely been guilty of that.
Well, this is how we wanted to resolve this situation, and it's quite unique. I can't believe how unique it still is because we saw this back. I issued a contract in year 2001 with a client. They did exactly what I just explained. They reissued it to someone else in 2008. We had a law change on having the disciplinary procedure in the contract, and they didn't have it. They went to court or a tribunal. They lost in the tribunal. They came to me and said, I used your contract. It was wrong. This is your fault. You owe us. I looked at it and thought, well, no, we told you about updating it. You didn't. But then I thought, how could we do this better? And that's where HR Manager was born, where we keep a digital copy of the contract. We update it. You get notified when it's updated. So every time you issue a contract, it's always the latest.
So instead of it sitting in my folder on my computer or on a Google Drive where I'm just going to then duplicate it, it sits on your system. I go in to create the contract. If anything's changed since I last created one, it's automatically updated.
Absolutely.
So then I use that and don't have to worry about something being out of date.
You've got the freshest contract.
Nice.
We do the same with employment handbooks as well. So all the policies are updated. So if you issue a contract or a policy, if there's an update by law, you'll get a message to say it needs to be updated next time you log in,
Hmm.
and you simply press update and it draws through the new data, so you're all up to date.
So, and I hope this doesn't come across offensive. So it's like the lazy man's HR because it's just updating for you. You don't have to be on top of it. I don't have to. If I was using it, I don't have to think, oh, last month there was a law change. I need to update this. I need to do this. Instead, I use your system.
Absolutely.
All your smart geniuses do all my hard work for me, and I just log in, use the latest version of the contract. I'm good to go.
You're absolutely right, and we actually call it a lazy lawyer.
Do you?
So yeah, consultants not happy because what we've done is we've done the easy work. So
Mhm.
where someone you might outsource, oh, can you give me an employment contract? Well, you don't need to outsource that anymore. You can do it in house with the confidence that it's going to be right when you
Mhm.
use it. Timed it takes less than 6 minutes to issue a contract,
Wow.
and that's correct. Yeah, so it's very fast once you've got the
Mhm.
information in as well, and it's built in a layman's way. So all the software does is ask you questions: what's their name, what's the salary, do they have a pension, do they have a company pension, and by answering the questions, it draws up the contract based on
Mm.
those.
And presumably that means anybody can do it. So businesses that maybe don't have a HR person or have somebody that is that specialist and skill set in house can just have the manager do that that's making the hire or
Yeah,
somebody
absolutely right.
else.
Our target audience, so a lot of our clients are independents with up to 10 employees, up to 25 employees. They won't have in-house HR, and we have given them a system where they won't require that. And that was the idea, that was our target audience. But when we released it, the management of documentation themselves, we've had some larger clients come to us, and that's when we
Hmm.
got into time management and other documentation as well, because it was out the whole HR process that
Hmm.
we needed to get involved in.
Hmm. Nice. So you started off helping the industry with all of their legal challenges. Now you're helping them with all their HR challenges.
Well, the thing is, we've always done HR, but we weren't renowned for it
Hmm.
because we're big on consumer law. So everyone, if they've got a fight with a customer, they would use the Lawgistics name. But it wasn't until the pandemic that people said, "Oh, what's furlough? How do I make people redundant? How do I lay people off?" I'm like, oh, we know that because we do that. Oh, you do employment law? Yes, 40% of what we do is employment law.
Hmm.
In fact, we've been building some software for the last
Mm.
2 years, and then what we saw was a growth in people with employment law
Yeah.
issues come to us over the last four
Hmm.
years
We
since
didn't make anyone furlough, but I do remember giving you a call anyway just to make sure I understood it and saying, "What's furlough? How does it work? Give me all the information. Tell me just in case."
Well, if I'm totally honest, we didn't know. So furlough's an American thing, not an English thing at the point. And I remember 16th of March 2020, we're all laid off or we're all told we can't operate within the business, and our phones just rung out. I need to make
Oh, I can
redundancies.
imagine.
And I think it was only 2, 3 days later that furlough was announced.
Mhm.
And then we had lots of people, what's this furlough? We're like reading the books, looking into it. Oh, we know what you need to do, and started writing the furlough contracts. Um, and yeah, it was amazing for the industry. Furlough was
Yeah.
a godsend
It's
for
funny how
so
it's this
many.
new term that nobody knew, and now it's just this universal word that everyone throws around like we've always known what it meant.
Absolutely. And we're all experts in it.
Yeah.
I must say, though, for all those people out there, there is a 6 year period where it can be looked into, which we were
Oh,
advised on
really?
how
Wow.
to claim furlough and how to not falsely
Mhm.
claim furlough. So HMRC will still be investigating some of the claims. So we're not clear yet.
Yeah. You're just subtly scaring everybody watching this.
If you took our advice, it'll be absolutely fine.
And that is why you should work for logistics and HR manager.
I think that's a very good plug. Yes.
So, but you've been very busy. So, on top of logistics and on top of building HR manager, you've also doing some charity stuff for Ben at the moment.
Absolutely. As so, yes, we've quite well known for partaking in the Bangers for Ben rally. This year is a bit different from any other year because we were approached by another firm, and we are taking 3 cars out. So automotive compliance and logistics are coming together, and we've been asked to do a cartoon theme. So we've gone Tom, Jerry, and Spike.
Spike, who's Spike?
Spike's the dog.
Oh, with the spike. Yes. Yeah, okay, I remember.
So it really is a mouse, cat, and dog chase. And we've taken the cars out on some trial and yeah, they're showstoppers.
I think most people know what Bangers for Ben is, but if you haven't seen it, it's in short, you buy a car, right? You dress it up as the most ridiculous thing that you can think
Well,
of.
the caveat is that you're not allowed to spend more than 750 on buying the car.
Right, okay.
You can spend thousands on doing it up.
Yeah.
We never do,
Mhm.
but we do get carried away, and we try to make it as homemade as possible.
Yeah.
So we've got a reputation for covering them in fur or making an animal. So the year before, we took a cow to Ireland,
Mhm.
and they really do. People like the tactile
Yeah.
cars. So yeah, I don't know
Mhm.
whether this will be the last time we fur the cars up.
So Joel will be driving a car that looks like Tom and Jerry and Spike.
Yep,
And where are you driving it this time?
we're going over the Alps to Switzerland.
Mhm.
The charity, there'll be 50 teams, so there'll be 50 cars ridiculously done up as are, and we all have to collect a certain amount of money. But collectively, last year we raised £100,000 for the charity.
Wow.
So I'd love to do the same this year,
Mhm.
but it's great fun whilst raising money as
Mhm.
well. So tickets go early. So if you haven't got them, there's probably not any spaces this year, but next year there'll be spaces. As soon as you see it announced, get yourself on the rally. It's an experience.
Nice. So the car's dressed up, but I've seen the video, so you're also dressed up, right?
Yeah, we've got Tom, Jerry, and Spike outfits.
Yep.
Bit hot. When driving, it's a bit of a nightmare, so I don't think the driver will be wearing the outfit, but I'm always the social media man in the passenger seat. So yeah, I am dressed up as Jerry for the weekend.
Yep. So if anyone sees Jerry driving through the Swiss Alps, it's Joel.
That'll be me. Please give generously.
Is there a link for people to sponsor you? Is that how it works?
Yeah, there's yeah, we've done lots of media press about it, and in there's a link where you can go on
Perfect.
it.
So we can
to
add it
then
to this
just it.
video and people can give you a
Yeah,
little
that'd be great.
sponsor.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. And also see the silly costumes. Can they see the costumes in the link?
Yeah, they are there. We've done the time lapse of us building the cars, which has been released. We've also done a funny video, or we thought it was funny. Um, that's out there, but we're making a third video, which we're looking for sponsors for once we do that. So we've only got 2 weeks to make that, but you're not allowed to release the cars until the day before. So we always do a release video.
Ah,
But
okay.
this year we were asked to do the British Motor Show.
Mm-hmm.
So we built them early for the British Motor Show. We had a 50,000 footfall there
Nice.
to start raising money early for the charity and getting more awareness for the charity as well.
Nice.
So that went well.
We'll input a little picture somewhere here of Joel dressed up so people know what to expect.
Thank you. We don't just do law, we do fur wraps as well.
So if you're a dealer group that needs law,
And-
HR, and fancy dress costume idea for your car, Joel's the man.
There's only one law firm in the industry that does that.
It's very niche. Perfect. So, what gave you the idea for HR manager? How did you come up with that?
Well, it literally was that client that got on the phone and said, "You're responsible for me using an out-of-date contract."
But it's grown. The idea has grown so much from that initial idea, hasn't it?
Yeah, so it was 2019 when we released the product to our client database, which was solving the problem of keeping contracts up to date. So it's like a document management software. But when we went to market, or when we gave it to them, this is brilliant. But the bigger firm said to us, "But I use another product. I'm not going to name any names because it's just bringing light to other competitors. But I use this product. I use that product. Why can't you do time management? Why can't you do meeting notes? Why can't you do health and safety data protection?" And we thought, this has got to be bigger for us to get any traction. And that's when we started, went out to an agency, but now we've got our own software development team writing it, which has been quite flexible and become a life ambition now, I guess. I thought of the idea 7 years ago. We've been writing it for, I think, 6 years, and we are due to release shortly a new version that we've spent a lot of money on, that's going to blow the socks off of our clients who get it for free, but we're going to release it also as a SaaS product online, and hopefully get £500,000 back from
Nice.
other industries rather than the motor trade. But the motor trade will always get our product free if they're a member of Lawgistics.
Wow.
which during the pandemic we introduced warranty management. So working on the same platform and the same theories of keeping documentation up to date, we introduced a warranty management platform where dealers can run their own warranty and also issue their own stationery, which is all within the platform free of charge if you're a member of Lawgistics.
Nice. Can't get cheaper than free.
No.
Perfect. And a slightly more personal question at this point.
Okay,
See, like the look of dread on your face.
I'll take a sip of coffee.
Obviously, logistics, family business started off. You started obviously working with your father. And we see that a lot on this show. We see a lot of people like managing directors that come into a family business, and I always like to like ask people what that's like, because I always think there's so many different ways into this industry, isn't there? People start off as apprentices. For some people, they come into a family business. Um, what's your journey into logistics? Because logistics now is very different to what it was when you first started, right? You came into a family business, but what's that journey been like?
I think we've got to go one step back beyond logistics. So I actually went to work with my father at a firm called Law Data, which was his firm. Um, and it was absolutely horrible because I was the son joining his firm. And
Mhm.
I remember people thinking that I just got the position because I was his son. So I really had to work hard to show my worth.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, he fell out with his partner in that business, which he'd run for 35 years, and decided to set up a new firm. So I had the opportunity to come in as an equal partner with him and his best friend right back. This was over 20 years ago now, and start logistics. And you're right, we started with nothing. He brought some money to it. So I was in charge of sales and marketing. And to think where we are right now, I think I did a good job.
Mm.
He did the legals with his partner. Sadly, in that journey, I lost his partner in 2015, Dennis Chapman. God bless him. The motor trade loved him and he was a legend. And then sadly, my father during the pandemic. So it's left me with the legacy of logistics and the good work they put in. Um, but I think, is there any good of losing them? The amount of money I've spent on the software, I would have never got authorized. And I wouldn't be where I am now with the software if we were a team of three.
Mhm.
Um, there isn't any good in losing somebody, but it has changed the direction of where we're going because it's more me than what the three of us wanted in the
Mhm.
first place. So we are digitalizing. It's a good way to go. It's probably beyond what they could comprehend
Mhm.
on how we manage documents, how we run the law, the legal team now. But I think they'd be very proud of the direction it's
Oh, I'm
taken as
sure they
well.
would be. Yeah, I'm sure they would be. And I think the thing that every time I have a conversation with you really shines through is how much you care. Like, you love your customers, you love what you do, and you're listening to people's feedback of where you think that actually things can be slightly better or things can be tweaked to really help the industry. It's just one of those things that really shines through. And now in the software of what you're doing, I can see that really you've listened to everything everyone's been saying over the years. You've kind of been silently in the background hearing all that feedback, and now you've built something that solves all of those problems.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. When I try and psychoanalyze why I am where I am today and
Mhm.
what we do, uh, I think that I thrive off respect. And by solving people's problems, you get respect.
Mhm.
It's not always about the money. And certainly, yeah, we haven't made the money because we've pumped it back into the software. But it's a good feeling to have people say, "Oh, thank you for resolving that." And we've done some big, our latest thing is the community interest company,
Mhm.
which kind of concretes our belief that we should give back when we do things. So the community interest company uh, is owned by the motor trade,
Mhm.
although we've created it. But it's there because we've realised with our legal team, which is a team of 15 now, but we've got two more joining us, so we're going to be a team of 17. The intellectual capital that we have is absolutely amazing. We've digitalised the um, cases that we create. So everything we've done for the last 10 years is now online in a virtual cabinet. So we've got uh, information that's quite unique to Google.
Mhm.
So there's not much that we can't deal with or haven't dealt with, or we can see trends
Mhm.
through that data as well. And what we've done with the community interest company it's created this thing that even beyond logistics, we can give it back to the motor trade. Beyond me, when I go, there'll be this that subsidises cases that go to court for the
Mhm.
motor trade and gives them the knowledge that we've learned along the way.
And you're one of the things that I've noticed about you over the years is you always share so much information online. As soon as there's a legal change or there's something that dealers need to be aware of and kind of where they need to have their finger on their pulse, you're always sharing it. So where can the listeners, I guess, subscribe? They can subscribe to a newsletter, right? And you
Absolutely.
also like on LinkedIn post a lot of articles and information.
It all
So,
comes from the newsletter.
hmm
So if you want the information firsthand, go to www.lawgistics.co.uk, subscribe to our newsletter that I call a blog. It's something I started in 2008. We've got
hmm
over 25,000 people that subscribe to it. We send it out 2 times a month.
hmm
So it's something I started in 2008, but I think it was 2015 when I realised the power of that blog,
hmm
when we had the Consumer Rights Act changed. So we had the Sale of Goods Act, we came to the Consumer Rights Act. We were writing about it in 2014. I didn't realise no one else was writing about it. And I published a post, and I remember it. It just said, you should be thinking about PDI and doing pre-delivery inspections and making a record of it. We sell a pad on Amazon. You can
hmm
have a pad. We sold £10,500 worth of pads from
Wow.
one email. And I remember the corridors full of pads and us wrapping pads, thinking, this isn't our business. But that one email did it. So I thought, I'm going to send that email again. We sent that email again. We took another £7,500 on
Wow.
PDI pads. And that's when I realised all that work of writing,
hmm
we were being listened to,
hmm
but we'd never asked for any money.
hmm
And yeah, we still do that blog. And if you want to see what we write, I get all the legal advisors to just do a snippet of law or a law
hmm
change twice a week. And we just put it out, unique
hmm
content, and it drives people to see what we do.
hmm Well, that's how I feel like I know if there's a change is because I see it somewhere from you. I'll read one of your articles and be like, "Oh, I didn't know that had changed. That's good that I now know that there's been a change in that area."
It's nice. And we don't give too much. It's enough just to keep you informed
Mhm.
and ask the question, how does this
Yeah.
affect me? And then we can do longer
Yeah.
articles
You
or
don't send people to sleep with 100 articles a day being sent through.
no, we wouldn't. If we told too much, then we wouldn't need lawyers, would we? It's not like that, honest. And I
Well,
think it's a privilege, the position we find ourselves in today, but I think it's a joint effort from everyone who works with logistics. And as much, what how you see I care. I think
mhm,
we've built a team with a culture that we all care,
mhm.
and very much we want to do the job properly,
Yeah.
and we give our clients and members the tools to do the job
Mhm,
properly, and that's what's made us what we are today.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, equally, I'm proud of what we've done, and I know my father would be as well.
Yeah. And for dealers that are watching now, and I know that HR manager is not just for the automotive industry, but for dealers that are watching now, whether it's like legal side of things or HR side of things, are there any changes that right now you think, you know what, you just want to say to dealers, you need to look at this, make sure you're on top of it. This is the area you should be focusing on so that you don't get burnt later.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is obviously the change in government with the Labour. We've now got Labour laws, so we've got a bill coming out on employment law that's rolling out this month.
Mhm.
People will be worried because employees seem to have more rights or rights earlier in their employment. For me, I don't think it's a problem, and I think our software resolves what you might be
Mhm.
scared of. It's really about fairness, and what we want to do with our software is facilitate fairness between employee and employer. So obviously, the employee has over 100 rights when they're employed. The employer has no rights.
Mhm.
It seems unfair, but it's not. It's about managing that, setting expectations for the employee, and having a uniform pattern on dealing with everybody in the same way and being transparent about it. And that's what our software will do
What does
to
that
help.
mean simply? Like for someone like I hire people, right? And what does that change mean for me on a day-to-day
I
basis?
think if we go, there's lots of things that are happening, but I think the most basic one is about your employee rights, that you never inherited them until year two. So
Right.
people were in the culture of if they don't work, you can get rid of them within the first
Mhm.
2 years without disciplinary,
Mhm.
just no thing.
And is that gone now? Can't do
That
that.
that will be gone.
Okay.
Very sure. I'm not sure on the date, but that will be gone. So
Mhm.
everyone's like, oh, we've got to make sure we get the right person in the
Mhm.
first place. Yes,
Okay.
You should have been doing that in the first
Yeah.
place. We
But that's
have
not always gonna happen, right? We make mistakes, we hire the wrong, or it's just the wrong fit, or you hire the right person, but it's not the right company fit, or whatever that is. So if that happens, where does that leave us now?
So what we have is we have a probation period, don't we? And that's what I think people were failing on, is setting expectations in that probation
Mhm.
period and measuring, so KPIs,
Okay.
actually really telling somebody what you expect of them up front,
Mhm.
not getting 6 months in and thinking, this isn't quite the job I thought it was.
I
Oh, you're
see.
not quite the person I thought for the job.
Mhm.
We're going to do that all up, and that's both people will
Yeah.
win from that,
So
the
now as an
business.
employer, it's my responsibility to say, this is the probation period, this is my expectation, this is what the role looks like. Is that a good fit for you? And then to measure and monitor against that. I can't fall back on, "Oh, just get rid of them at some point within that
Totally.
2 years."
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's such a fair
Yeah.
system
Mhm.
that I think is a good thing. So I don't think we should be scared of it. I think we should embrace it
Mhm.
and just get up front and start doing the job properly.
Mm. Well, if
Um,
anything, it might give people more confidence and security to leave and get a new role because they're not concerned that they're starting again and that they lose that security that they've built up with another company.
totally. I think people are creatures of habit. They get into something and then they just put up with it.
Mhm.
Whereas this forces you to make a decision. It's not the right decision. So let's
Mhm.
move and find something better for us.
Mhm.
We should all be happy in our jobs. I enjoy my job a lot, and it's upsetting when you think somebody's in a role and they're not enjoying their job
Mhm.
because it's the majority of our life that we're
Mhm.
going to spend and the best part of our life. So, yeah, we should try and find a job that we enjoy.
Mhm.
And I think this will push people to do that and not
Mhm.
just put up with second best.
Mhm. How do I document my expectations for that probation period? Is that in the contract? Is that the job
Job
description?
description, you've
Okay.
got that. So you'll write a job advert.
Mhm.
So again, we have a recruitment section on HR
Mhm.
Manager where we write the job description so they can see what they've applied for. And then we set our KPIs, so the job
Mhm.
description. Then we set a probation meeting, 3 months, 6 months, whatever the probation
Okay.
period is. We compare the KPI, so it's all factual, it's not personal.
Mhm.
And we see that they've met those targets. If they haven't, we give them
Mhm.
a chance to improve. And if they're not going to improve, so we can extend the probation period and say you didn't do it because of this point and that point, and then we can part companies and we can show that we analysed it correctly and we've
Mhm.
done it for the right reasons
Mhm.
for
Again, and I
disciplinary.
guess that's nicer for both people, right? Because I think I've spoken to people and they've gone into a new role and they expect it to be one thing from the interview and the description, and they step into it and it's something completely different, a completely different expectation and not what they expected. I guess now we're saying, well, no, as an employer, it's your responsibility to list that job correctly, to be really clear on the expectations, to know what the KPIs are that you're going to hold somebody accountable beforehand. So we can't just be lazy and post a generic job description out that's not that specific and then find a member of staff in place that's not really well suited to that role.
Absolutely. I think it's a proactive way of dealing with a situation.
Mhm.
So you'll think, oh, the motor trade's fast paced, people
Mhm.
come and go in certain roles. Well, why do they come and go? It's probably because you didn't select the right person in the right
Mhm.
at the right time, and they probably signed up for something they didn't understand.
Mhm.
So let's take a step backwards and slow it down,
Mhm.
and that means it's going to mean we can retain people better, and won't be trying to recruit. You'll hear there's a recruitment issue in the motor trade. Yeah, well, I wonder if we dealt with it in a proactive way, whether we could reduce that.
And obviously this law change is coming into place. What happens to people that say maybe took on a job 6 months ago when this wasn't the case? What
They
what
will
what
inherit the rights straight away, so everybody will be. They will all be able to have, or their right to have a disciplinary will be
is
there.
But should we all focus on making sure those job descriptions, even historic ones that we've already hired for, are maybe a bit clearer? Like make sure that's outlined and that staff are clear what those
I
expectations are?
People who speak to me, and certainly an advocate of our own product HR manager, I'm very much into the fact that people should do employee appraisals.
Mhm.
Um, so if it's something that you don't do, then it should be something you should
Mhm.
introduce. And I think people will come and they'll say, "Oh, I've got a problem with an employee. What's the problem? They're late. Okay, how long has it gone on for? It's gone on for several months. Okay, is it documented? No, it's not documented. Okay, well, they haven't been late yet. As far as on this paper, they've not been late.
Mhm.
So what are they going to do tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably be like, well, mark it down, because that's when it starts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same with appraisals. If you haven't done it, it's not too late to start.
Mm-hmm.
Introduce them. It gives a sense of well-being, the fact that you care about where
Mm-hmm.
your employees want to be, what they want to do. The feedback you said about me listening to feedback again, the feedback is absolutely brilliant, because you'll find that their expectation isn't they want more money. They might want a better chair, which costs nothing to give them a better chair. And you start doing things that make you feel like a team rather
Mm-hmm.
than them and us. And then, yeah, so it's about giving back,
Mm-hmm.
and you will get back when that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your favourite thing about the industry?
Two things. First of all, when I was younger, my father was in the motor trade.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of like what put the bread on the table
Mm-hmm.
for us when we were younger. And he spoke about it. I didn't know I was going to be working with him or I'd be where I am today. But I do love that historical feel that this is me. This is the motor
Mm-hmm.
trade has supported me all my life. So I do feel like I'm giving back. Um, the second thing is the respect that comes with where we are now. So, it's nice to turn up at events and people know what we do and come and say, thank you. I really had a good case with this legal advisor, and they'll mention names and say how great it was. And that's just makes you feel so good and warm inside that you're doing something that benefits the industry.
Top piece of advice for a dealer watching right now. If they're only going to take one thing away from this interview, what do you hope it is?
Well, normally when they say what's your top piece of advice, is it's don't sell cars, but I don't think that's what they want to hear, because that is their business. But I really think is document everything. It's so important that everything that you do is documented.
Mm-hmm.
It might seem like a shortcut not to,
Mm-hmm.
but when we're dealing with a case, we look at the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So if a customer comes in and complains, write that down that they complained on that day. They may have gone and you thought that's the end of it, but it's very often the case that they come in 12 months later and then they produce a WhatsApp message that they had sent you 9 months ago and then claim that you did nothing or said nothing. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, everything should be put down in writing and documented.
And stored in HR Manager.
Employee wise, HR manager, customer wise, in a CRM.
Yeah.
Not mentioning any names, but there's some very good ones out there.
2025, what's your prediction for the industry?
That we go back on electric cars and the running out of them. Yeah, that's not 2025, is it? That's 2030.
That's fine. It relates to the episode that we've literally just filmed before this, so I'll add a little link. And my final note, HR Manager is coming early 2025. If anyone has any questions or want to find out more, how do they have a look at HR Manager, see if it's right for their business? Where do they need to go?
We're obviously singing about it on our blog.
Mm-hmm.
So as the new releases come out and when they're coming out, I'm talking about it. There is hrmanager.co.uk is actually the URL for the product.
Mm-hmm.
If you go there, you'll see a picture of my daughter on there. When her picture goes, you'll know that the new version's up. She's played the little boss since she was 4 and she's now 14, so 10 years. Yeah, and we haven't sacked her. It's just our marketing team said that, yeah, the logo needed to be different, which you'll see when.
So we've no longer got a little boss.
I've got the little boss still.
Well, that's good.
But yes, the little boss is no longer the face of the product.
But she'll still be in your videos with Ben, I'm sure.
Very much so. Yeah, she can't let Ben down.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Armchair Marketing.